The movie opens in the Panama jungle where she was researching spiders right before she died, where an adorable sloth is seen hanging on a tree trunk and eating leaves. All of a sudden, an alligator snatches it and takes it inside the river. The water soon turns red and it appears as if the sloth has fucking died. Surprisingly, it manages to survive and swims out of the water unharmed, but it is soon sedated by some poachers who then take it away in a sack. As they leave, the camera pans to the water, showing us the dead body of the alligator. Turns out the cute-looking sloth has killed the alligator with its razor-sharp claws. The scene then cuts to two senior-to-be college students, Emily and Madison, who are visiting a mall. While wandering around, they lament about not having done much in their 4 years, though they are a part of a sorority. They simultaneously stalk the social media profile of their favorite college president, Brianna, who has more than 30,000 followers. Psh. Come on, Brianna. Emily really wants to be the next president, but at the same time, she doesn't have the guts to compete against the popular Brianna. Madison tries to encourage her, pointing out that just because Brianna has followers doesn't mean she has friends. On the contrary, Emily has both friends and a loving boyfriend. Amidst their conversation, Emily suddenly notices a dog on the loose, which is about to get hit by a kid on a bike. She quickly makes a run and saves the dog from the accident. Her heroism is noticed by a passerby, who happens to be the same poacher from earlier. He asks if she's a pet lover, to which she affirms. He then shows her his social media, in which he has posted some cute pictures of Sloth. He also hands her his card, telling her to contact him if she's thinking about getting an exotic animal. After all, cute furry animals are great for scoring popularity points. And sloths are great if you want to relate yourself to something really dumb. In the next scene, we see Brianna entering the sorority house with a dominant attitude. Nobody has enough courage to speak against her, despite her arrogant and rude behavior, as she's the most popular girl of the college. It's currently election time, and Brianna is running for re-election as sorority president. Meanwhile, Emily and Madison also arrive with their belongings to move in to their new senior rooms. Later that evening, Emily stands in front of a board with pictures of all the former presidents. Among them, one is of her mother. While looking at it, she's approached by a sorority in charge, Mayflower. Emily asks her if her mother was a good president. Mayflower responds that she was one of the kindest presidents to date, as she used to prioritize her friends before anyone else. She still hazed the freshmen by making them get naked and hit beehives with golf clubs, but she was really nice. Believing Emily to be as kind as her mother, she suggests that she run for president, but the latter is still not confident. The same night, Emily stalks through Brianna's profile and comes across some pictures with wild pets. This makes her realize that it's the pet that can help her gain popularity and compete against Brianna. At this point, she remembers the earlier guy from the mall, so she texts him. In response, the guy sends her an address, asking her to come over in the morning. Later, he decides to bring out the sloth for a little walk before giving it away to Emily. That's when the sloth shows its true colors and kills him brutally. It makes a noise like this. The following morning, Emily drives towards the given location, but she finds nobody there. She proceeds to knock on the door, only to find it open. She slowly enters the place and discovers the innocent-looking sloth in the middle of the room. Since there's no one around, Emily takes the sloth and drives back. Upon arriving at the sorority house, she tries to head directly to her room without showing her new pet to anyone. However, her path is intercepted by Brianna, who demands to know what's in the box.
It's in the box!
When Emily hesitates, Brianna snatches the box from her and throws it down the stairs. Following this, the cute-looking sloth makes its way out of the box, leaving everyone in awe. Emily quickly runs downstairs to protect and pet it. Meanwhile, Brianna can't stand that everyone's attention is grabbed by the sloth, so she claims that pets aren't allowed in the sorority house. However, Emily counters that pets are allowed if they make it their mascot. All the girls vote in her favor, leaving Brianna furious. In addition, Emily announces that she'll be running for president this year. This free sloth is paying off instantly. Unlike everyone, Madison thinks that it's a terrible idea to keep a poached wild animal out of its habitat, so she urges her to take it to a rescue shelter. However, Emily dismisses her concern, asserting that it possesses no harm to anyone, as it's an innocent creature. Later, Emily's other friend Zenny comes to her room, and the two of them name the sloth Alpha. One evening, Emily is preparing for a party when she notices news regarding the poacher's death. This disturbs her for a moment, but she opts to ignore it for now. Later, while she goes for a shower, the sloth climbs up the computer table and starts using her laptop.
SafariHub.com.
It appears that the Sloth is well trained to use the modern devices. It goes through Emily's social media profile and soon gets triggered by a picture of her with the poacher from the mall. On the other hand, the envious Brianna instructs one of her girls, Ava, to get rid of the Sloth. Later at the party, Ava borrows Alpha for a while under the pretense of petting it. However, she secretly takes the Sloth out into the rain and abandons it on the roadside. After this, Ava returns to the party and begins to hook up with a guy. Unbeknownst to her, the Sloth is well trained and intelligent, unlike the other pets. It makes its way back to the party and sneaks into her room. While Ava is busy with the guy, Alpha puts some sedative in her drink. Shortly after, she comes to her room and gulps the drink, causing her to feel dizzy. As she collapses to the floor, the Sloth jumps on her and mutilates her with its sharp claws. After the party, Emily starts searching for Ava and her pet, but she can't locate them. Upon searching the entire vicinity for a while, she returns to her room with a sad expression. She lies down on her bed when the Sloth suddenly shows up. Although Emily is initially startled, she feels relieved upon seeing it. She immediately hugs it without noticing that blood is dripping from its sharp nails. As election day nears, Brianna begins to fall apart because her plan of becoming president for the third time is gradually failing. On the contrary, Emily's popularity increases due to her pet. Amidst these passing days, the Sloth goes on a killing spree, executing the sorority girls one after another. The others wonder where those girls have gone, but they don't perceive it as a serious issue. One day, before the election, Alpha is enjoying its sunbath with a beer when Madison shows up. Seeing it alone, she decides that it's time to rescue the animal and send it to its natural habitat. But just before she can take it away, Emily spots her and tells her that she needs it.
I needs it.
Madison tries to explain that it's not right, but this only ensues an argument between the two best friends. Amidst this, the Sloth grabs Madison's phone and throws it in the middle of the street. She goes to pick it up, but things take a tragic turn as she gets hit by a speeding vehicle. Soon after, Madison is rushed to the hospital, and she's accompanied by Emily. Overwhelmed with guilt, Emily apologizes to her and promises to send the Sloth away. Just then, she receives a text from Brianna telling her to arrive at the sorority house before midnight, or else she'll lose the presidency. Emily doesn't want to leave her best friend alone, but the latter convinces her to go and win the title. Following this, Emily races back to the sorority house and arrives there just in time. She hurriedly changes her dress and heads to the election venue, mistakenly leaving her phone in her room. Soon after, the voting session begins, and Emily watches it nervously. By this point in time, Alpha has already killed two more girls, Alyssa and Dakota. It also steals Emily's phone and learns of Madison's whereabouts. It then grabs her car keys and drives towards the hospital. Once there, it sneaks into Madison's ward room and cuts off the oxygen flow. Then, it takes a selfie.
This one's for the gram.
Before starting to choke her with a pillow. But before the Sloth can finish her off, the nurse arrives and saves Madison. Back at the sorority house, Emily wins the election, making her overjoyed. The girls then begin to party, while Brianna walks away in anger. She heads to Alyssa's room, only to come across her lifeless body. Sometime later, Emily goes to use the bathroom when she hears the screaming voice of Brianna. She rushes to the source and discovers the Sloth attacking her. Sensing the urgency of the situation, she attacks the creature from behind before fleeing to the bathroom. While hiding, Brianna blames Emily for all of these murders, but the latter claims that she didn't know the Sloth was dangerous. After a while of deliberation, the two of them cautiously make their way out. Soon after, they're again attacked by the Sloth, but Emily manages to throw it out the window. Despite this, it survives and enters back inside the building. On the other hand, the rest of the girls are enjoying their shower party when the Sloth shows up. It manipulates the wires and electrocutes a bunch of them together. Back to Emily, she finds a gun from one of the girls' rooms, which she takes for safety. However, she soon bumps into Brianna's manager, causing her to drop the gun. Before Emily can pick up the firearm, the Sloth launches its attack and drags the girl away. This sets Emily into a panic, so she runs upstairs to hide in a room. Meanwhile, Mayflower, who had fallen asleep after getting drunk, wakes up to see blood on the floor. Seconds later, she's startled by Alpha, whose claws are filled with blood. Furthermore, she also notices the lifeless body of a sorority girl in a corner. Sensing the danger, she immediately grabs a wooden plank and repeatedly bashes the Sloth's little sloth face. Once it stops moving, Mayflower goes in search of the girls and finds Emily hiding inside a room. Seeing the in-charge, Emily proceeds to open the door, but at the same time, the Sloth stabs Mayflower from behind. Despite the injury, Mayflower fights back, somehow managing to fend it off. Emily then opts to take her to the hospital, but the latter passes away before she can do anything. Elsewhere, Emily's boyfriend Tyler is checking her social media account when he finds that her social account name has been changed to Killer Sloth. As he scrolls down, he learns that the Sloth has killed the girls and clicked selfies with them. Realizing that his girlfriend is in danger, he immediately heads to the sorority house. Upon arrival, he's relieved to find her safe. As Emily explains the situation to him, Zenny shows up, revealing that she managed to survive the electrocution. The trio then head towards the exit, also rescuing the hidden Brianna on their way. Shortly after, they're attacked by Alpha, wounding Tyler at first. Zenny then takes out her sword and impales the creature. Despite this, it doesn't die and wounds Zenny instead. It then seizes her sword and charges towards the teens, but Madison shows up with a gun in the nick of time. She shoots it down and they flee the scene, inadvertently leaving Brianna behind. When Emily finally realizes that they've abandoned their friend, she decides to go back to save her. She soon comes across the Sloth, who has now taken Brianna hostage. Emily challenges the Sloth to a duel, and it responds by charging towards her. Alpha climbs onto Emily wearing the presidential crown and begins choking her. In this intense moment, she grabs the same crown and pushes it down to its head, freeing herself. Following this, the Sloth takes a big leap to deliver a fatal blow, but Emily manages to grab the gun and shoot it down, this time wounding it brutally. She again aims at it to finish it off, but moments before that, it points at a picture of Panama and calls it home. Hearing this, Emily finally does the right thing and sends Alpha to its natural habitat. The scene then cuts to a year later, depicting the 4 surviving girls of the sorority house. They now have started a campaign to spread awareness about illegal poaching and saving animals. All 4 of them are best friends, with Emily holding the presidential title. In the final scene, we see a guide who takes some tourists to the Panama jungle. There, they come across a young girl who is fascinated by the Sloth. Despite the guide's warning, the girl takes a selfie with it and decides to take it home, hinting at the same cycle. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.